Look at any major city in the world before the year 1900, and you will see them. The colossal, magnificent stone cathedrals of the Old World. We are told they were simply places of worship, grand monuments built for prayer, designed by primitive craftsmen who spent centuries stacking stones using basic pulleys. But if you look at the actual geometry, the engineering, and the sheer impossibility of their construction, a much darker, hidden truth begins to echo through the halls. These weren't just places to pray, they were machines. Advanced, complex atmospheric acoustic machines designed to heal the human body. On this channel, we uncover the proof the old world left behind. Today, we are investigating the grandest cover-up in medical history, the destruction of acoustic healing, the dismantling of the great cathedral organs, and how the Rockefeller Empire paid to rewrite the science of human health. To understand what they destroyed, you have to look at the architecture of sound. Every major Old World cathedral is built with identical geometric proportions, acting as a giant resonating chamber. The walls, the vaulted ceilings, they were specifically carved to amplify and sustain specific resonant frequencies. At the heart of every one of these structures sat the grand pipe organ. History tells us these organs were just musical instruments for choirs. But why would primitive societies invest millions of hours and tons of metal to build instruments capable of producing infrasound, frequencies so low they cannot even be heard by the human ear, only felt by the body? The answer lies in the science of cymatics. Sound creates physical form. When you broadcast specific frequencies, they organize matter into perfect geometry. Now, look closely at the massive rose windows featured in every Old World cathedral. They are not just art. They are literal blueprints of the exact sound frequencies that the building was designed to generate. A visual map of acoustic medicine. In the 1800s, people didn't go to these buildings just to pray for their sick. They brought the sick inside to be bathed in resonant frequencies, using specific tones to shatter pathogens, align cellular structures, and heal the body. It was a global, free, localized medical network left over from the Old World. But free, community-based healing was a massive threat to the rising industrial titans. By the late 19th century, John D. Rockefeller had monopolized the oil industry. But he had a problem. His refineries were producing massive amounts of toxic byproducts, specifically petrochemical waste. Rockefeller's scientists realized that these chemical byproducts could be synthesized into patented, highly profitable chemical drugs. He didn't just want to control energy, he wanted to patent the medical industry. But to do that, he had to eliminate the competition. He had to erase natural and frequency-based medicine entirely. In 1910, he funded the Flexner Report. Abraham Flexner, a man who wasn't even a doctor, was hired by the elite foundations to travel across North America and aggressively evaluate every medical institution. The results were entirely predetermined. The report concluded that any healing method that didn't involve heavy surgery or the new, patented petroleum-based chemical drugs was unscientific quackery. Within a few short years, the Rockefeller Foundation took total financial control of the medical schools. If a college taught frequency healing, they lost their funding, lost their licensing, and were forcibly shut down. Doctors who continued to use sound, cymatics, or natural remedies were mocked, stripped of their medical licenses, and thrown into jail. The era of the Old World healer was officially criminalized, replaced entirely by the era of the lifelong pharmaceutical customer. But controlling the medical schools wasn't enough. As long as the cathedrals stood, as long as the massive organs could vibrate the stone grids with infrasound, the elites still had a problem. The old technology was still out there, in plain sight. Starting in the 1910s, a massive, quiet campaign was launched across the world. They called it modernization and structural retrofitting. Under the guise of repairs, thousands of original pipe organs were gutted. Their specific frequency-generating pipes were ripped out, melted down, and replaced with standard, decorative musical pipes. They completely altered the tunings. Prior to this, instruments were tuned to the healing frequency of 432 Hz, which resonates directly with the geometry of nature. But in the early 20th century, the global standard was forcefully shifted to 440 Hz, a harsher, more discordant frequency that agitates the mind rather than healing the body. But they didn't just stop at the organs. The metal spires and copper domes that capped these massive buildings, which acted as atmospheric energy antennas, were quietly removed during wartime scrap metal drives. They stripped the cathedrals of their power sources, gutted their engines, and left us with the empty shells we see today. Grand, beautiful, but silent. Even though the elites destroyed the grand cathedral organs and removed the spires, the actual science of acoustic resonance couldn't be completely erased from human memory. In the 1920s and 30s, a few brave scientists independently rediscovered the old world healing grid. Men like Dr. Royal Rife and George Lakhovsky realized that if sound and frequency could organize sand into perfect geometry, it could also shatter the geometry of disease. Dr. Rife invented a frequency machine that acted exactly like a miniaturized cathedral organ. He discovered that every pathogen, every virus, and every failing cell had a specific, mortal oscillatory rate, a frequency that would cause it to self-destruct, while leaving the healthy human tissue completely unharmed and perfectly aligned. Lakhovsky built the multi-wave oscillator, a device made of concentric copper rings that broadcast a massive spectrum of harmonic frequencies, bathing the patient in energy. This was the exact same principle as sitting in the nave of a cathedral while the organ played. By 1934, the University of Southern California conducted an official medical trial using Rife's technology. They brought in 16 terminal patients, people who had been abandoned by conventional medicine. Within 130 days, using nothing but resonance sound and plasma frequencies, every single one of those 16 terminal patients was declared completely cured. No surgeries, no petroleum-based pills, no lifelong treatments. When news of this 100% cure rate reached Morris Fishbane, the head of the American Medical Association, an organization heavily funded and steered by the Rockefeller Empire, the reaction was absolute, immediate devastation. Fishbane attempted to buy the exclusive rights to Rife's frequency machine. When Rife refused to sell out humanity's health to a monopoly, the elite syndicate struck back. Overnight, the laboratories of independent frequency scientists were mysteriously burned to the ground. Millions of dollars of complex machinery, research, and decades of old-world acoustic data turned to ash. The doctors who had participated in the successful clinical trials were systematically hunted down. They were threatened with the loss of their medical licenses, financial ruin, and federal prison if they ever mentioned frequency healing again. Within months, the men who had cured terminal illness using the science of the cathedrals were completely broken, bankrupt, and erased from modern medical history. The Rockefeller-backed pharmaceutical industry secured its absolute monopoly. If you look closely at the foundational blueprints of every major old-world cathedral, you will find one undeniable recurring feature. They were all built directly over subterranean aquifers. Water is not just a liquid, as modern fringe science is only now beginning to rediscover. Water has memory. It holds and stores acoustic frequencies. The builders of the old world understood this. The cathedrals were not just sound chambers. They were massive frequency chargers for the local water supply. The giant pipe organs would vibrate the massive stone pillars, which carried the 432 Hz infrasound straight down into the underground springs. When the people drank from the cathedral wells, they were literally drinking structured healing frequencies. But in the early 20th century, the elites didn't just smash the organs, they capped the springs. The natural, frequency-charged water of the old world was replaced by the stagnant, chemically treated tap water we are forced to consume today. They poisoned the well. But who originally built this massive, global acoustic healing grid? Because the more you study the architecture, the more you realize the people of the 1800s didn't build it. They inherited it. They were simply the survivors of a massive reset. Look at the maps from before the 19th century. A massive empire spanned the globe, the Tartarian Empire, a civilization that mastered atmospheric energy, sound, and cymatics. They didn't build cathedrals as churches. They built them as localized energy and health centers. But something happened in the early 1800s. A cataclysm, a mud flood. The civilization was wiped out, and when the new elite class took power, they claimed the buildings as their own. They stuck crosses on the energy antennas, and they rewrote history to say that primitive monks built them over centuries. But even after claiming the buildings, the elites couldn't risk the population figuring out how they worked. So, they needed a way to erase the remaining old world grid from the face of the earth. Permanently. Enter the World Wars. We are told they were fought over politics and territory. But what if the true purpose of the relentless bombing campaigns of World War I and II was the systematic destruction of the Tartarian architecture? Look at the photographs of Dresden, Warsaw, or London after the Blitz. The targets weren't just factories. The targets were the grandest, most acoustically perfect buildings ever constructed by humanity. It was an architectural genocide. When the smoke cleared, the elites rebuilt the world in their own image. They replaced the living, breathing, resonating stone of the old world with brutalist concrete. Concrete does not resonate. It absorbs sound. It deadens frequency. It is a cage. And into this concrete cage, they pumped the new, synthetic frequencies of the modern grid. Sirens, alarms, mechanical engines, and the constant hum of the 60 Hz electrical grid. Every sound in our modern world is designed to agitate the nervous system, to keep the human body in a constant state of fight or flight, ensuring we remain sick, anxious, and forever dependent on Rockefeller medicine. Today, when you walk into a hospital, you are met with sterile white walls, chemical smells, and an industry that profits off of managing sickness, never truly curing it. The Rockefellers succeeded. They bought the medical schools, they buried the old world science, and they disconnected humanity from the healing resonance that was once freely available to everyone. But the buildings are still there. The massive acoustic rose windows still look down on us, hidden in plain sight. A silent reminder of the advanced, global civilization that was stolen from us. We are told that human history is a straight line of primitive to modern. But the deeper you look into the archives, the more you realize that the peak of human achievement is entirely in our rearview mirror. They didn't just demolish our past, they monetized our future. I'm uncovering what was ignored and forgotten. If you want to keep digging into the evidence they tried to erase, make sure to hit subscribe and tell me in the comments. Do you think they destroyed the old world organs just for scrap metal, or to force us into a $1 trillion medical monopoly? Until next time, question the timeline.